Hello, hello, hello. Welcome once again to the Run It Down. As was flickered onto your screen very briefly, it's time to be a little bit ERLevant. I'm Brack. I'm joined by Harold and Zathdos once again to do a little bit of a primer for EMEA Masters. How we feeling?
Yeah.
I mean,
I felt a little bit too tall there. I had to put my camera down a bit. I've just slowly seen you guys from first episode to second, just like slowly just go.
yeah, just slowly slouch in.
I've moved my chair back. I'm
Posture check, gents. All right, here we go. Come on.
It's the comfortability, right?
Longevity is
getting to know each
important.
other. But
Right. Let's start out
Rakesh,
with the important. Yes.
Tell me about EMEA. That's what I want to know.
EMEA Masters. The top teams from the European ERLs, that's European Regional Leagues, all going to play at a big tournament. We've got 16 teams coming in this time around. We've got the top two from the LFL, that's France. We've got the top two from the Prime League, that's Germany and Austria and Switzerland. We've got the Superliga. We've got two teams from Spain. And then we've got individual teams coming out from the TCL, from Turkey, LIT, Italy, the Arabian League, from the Hellenic League, from the NLC, from Rift Legends, which is a big Poland-Baltics sort of tournament. So what happens when Ultraliga died and was resurrected by necromancy?
Yeah. A big ball of kielbasa or something.
Harold, you can't spoil what team you support, though. Okay, I wanna wait till we get there because there is a team that Harold.
And then Portugal, the Balkans, and Benelux. We got teams from those as well.
But just for everybody at home, some teams you might know is Karmine Corp Blue, Big, Los Heretics, Papara Supermassive, Los Ratones, of course, as well. You even got lesser known teams, but better known in football. You got Barca Esports. We'll go into detail about all the teams we go. But for me, EMEA Masters is more exciting than the LEC, honestly.
I mean,
Do you guys agree?
Harold, let's measure in on that one.
I feel like the fandom gets more heated. Yes. Like.
I mean, for one, there's just more teams, right? 16 teams.
I mean, there's more teams, and regional representations. As much as I would say we all have our favorite LEC team. Like as I said before, I'm a pretty hardcore G2 fan. I seem to be surrounded by Fnatic fans, which is a damn shame. But
I don't. I see the problem with I'm a bit of a fence sitter. I don't really follow a specific team at the moment. I feel like I should try and and commit. I mean, could I just say XDD and be a rat? Can we just go with that?
Harold, I respect you so much more than I do Brack. Fence sitters are so much worse than picking G2 over Fnatic, okay? Because for me, I'm a person who loves certain teams.
I'm not even a fence sitter. I don't know how to define myself. I'm sort of an external, kind of just teamless. I watch.
Okay. There must be a player. There must be a player that you're like, oh my god, I love him so much, please.
I mean, the players I love aren't even in LEC anymore.
Okay, you don't have to support a team. For me, it's dig season, baby, every season. Even though they're absolutely terrible in NA.
I used to. I mean, old school gamers will remember CLGEU. That's my jam. 80-minute games, the Snoopy stare, Froganivia. Like that's where we're at.
You had Immortals back in the day. There were so many great teams and great players. For me, AfroMu, absolutely love him. He was one of the reasons why I really dreamed of becoming a support, and now he's not even playing League anymore. The Brackish, a bit more understandable, but come on, you must be supporting maybe Los Ratones. There must be a team you must love.
But EMEA, like it's as an NLC resident, and I mean XDD. It's like they're the funny team, right? They've got all of these big names, and my absolute goat. So, naturally I will be here for LR, but that's not the only team I'm going to care about in the tournament because, I mean, we got some big names, and I'm not just talking about that one team.
Which one?
Karmine Corp Blue.
You know what you did, and I'm still disappointed in you.
It's worth trying. Oh, you meant Supermassive. Haha, funny. Very cool. Look at you, Brackish. One absolute comedian. But guys, I understand.
What did I do? Hang on.
You made a joke about, the big team, Supermassive. Okay,
I mean, that was sort of a vague pun that you ran away with. We'll roll with it though. Anyway, let's start zeroing in a bit then. So, before we talk about teams, let's talk about specifically the regions. Now, coming in, there is obviously a tendency to go Superliga, Prime League, and LFL got 2 teams each. Clearly, they're the strongest regions. Now, historically, that is also not a terrible yardstick to go by.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 Brits on this desk. We're repping NLC, XDD, Los Ratones coming in, wrecking their way through NLC, coming onto the EMEA stage. What do we even expect with this team? Like, are EMEA teams going to be able to deal with Babas? Are EMEA teams going to be able to deal with the greatest support of all time, Reckless?
World champion, that is.
Ever does exist, Rakesh. Alright? Don't disrespect my goal. Oh, whatever. Anyway, to answer your point, I think, can they win it all? Maybe. I think they're clearly in the top 5. If you were to apply a number to them, I mean, like the position you expect. You expecting like top 4, top 8? I think semi-finals. I think top 4. They can get top 4. The only reason they don't put them higher is with NLC they've only got themselves 1 slot because you have France, you have Germany, of course you've got Spain as well, and a few different regions. They have 2 slots. They are clearly better than NLC. We've been slipping further and further behind, and all of our best players recently have been going away towards them. So then the question now becomes, yes, Los Ratones is amazing, but they've been going against pretty bad competition compared to what you can get in Spain, in Germany, and especially, of course,
Nord would have a few things to say about that.
But like, that's one team compared to LFL where you have so many great teams.
I mean, then again,
and also,
you look at this current
I also need to shout out to
NLC.
Ruddy Sack,
Yeah.
I don't worry. Eyes on you, Don.
Bulldog.
Yeah, exactly. Like
content teams more than I
do
saw
you
them as
you
content
know what?
teams.
I'm gonna have you stand on this one. Is Los Ratones the only NLC team that you think is actually competitive?
I have some friends on some of the teams, so I don't want to answer this. I actually really like. I'm really good friends with some people on these teams.
I have no stay. I have.
Okay, what are we talking about competitive? Are we talking about taking a game or 2? Because let me take you back to last EMEA Masters.
Like, at least make it to the knockout stage.
Venom Crest, very historic team. Remember, Brackish, when we cast in NLC Division 2, flawless run. Got themselves a ton of great players afterwards as well. Get themselves to be either first or second. They don't make it out of groups. The other NLC representative didn't make it out of groups. I think Los Ratones will. That doesn't mean that NLC has massively gone up in levels. Honestly.
Well, I mean, we got you to stand on a standpoint at least. With the patch being the way it is then, with no lane swaps, with changes to a lot of these major picks, there's one person that I think is very happy about that. One particular XDDer who is very, very happy that he can't get lane swapped on anymore. And that's Baus.
I mean, like, when he got lane swapped on, didn't he usually come out in a good situation somehow?
Yes, but, like, his customary playstyle you can't really do in the 2v1, so...
Fair enough. You can't really proxy a wave when there's 2 people hitting you.
Yeah, it is a bit harder, and that's actually a great conversation to go into, because lane swaps are now dead. It's very important to actually be a strong laner now than trying to swap around, except for mid laners. And Los Ratones, I think they are going to be solid in that category, with the boss getting MVP of the NLC. I'm really excited to see him against slightly harder opponents because we have a lot of ex-NLC top laners which he'll be playing against. One of them coming straight to mind is Armut. How is he going to be going against a player like that, which is volatile in their own sense? And if the boss does amazing there, maybe he will get an actual opportunity for the LEC.
Did he win MVP or just Rookie of the
Split? He
Split?
got Rookie of the Split. I don't know if he got the entire season MVP as well.
I think Crownie got MVP.
Got it.
Oh no, Crownie got MVP, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Crownie got MVP. He got Rookie of the Split. That's still something you should be amazingly proud of.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And you were talking about individual laning. Like, Crownie Reckless has been a formidable 2v2 in the NLC. And again, there are some very, very strong bot lanes coming into this tournament. It's going to be really sick to see how they stack up. Like, we were talking about Big earlier. Bean and Limit. Those are some names. Like, how are we going to see those two match up? If we see them match up.
Well, I've actually heard a little bit of the backstory of Bean and the way that he's gone from being part of Fnatic, Limit, somebody who's of course been in the LEC as well. And both of these players have had quite difficult careers, going from being a really hot and upcoming prospect to being okay in the league and then kind of getting thrown to the side of, you're not really good enough anymore for it. And both of these players are trying to get up to that level again of joining back in the LEC. And I think they are going to really struggle against Los Ratones. The main reason for it is Los Ratones have been scrimming against some of the best teams. Yes, we couldn't see them go against Giant X beforehand, but they are still getting those opportunities and they still are good enough for Giant X to want to do it.
That's the leverage, right? That you have like a name like Kadril at the front of this team.
And that's
the Rat King himself.
If Bean and Limit beat out their bot lane, I think there's a really big opportunity, at least for Bean, to get back into the league, as he is still pretty old at 24 for esports standards, but he's still young enough to maybe have another opportunity.
That's the thing that's happened for so long, right? That it's like, oh, 24, you're too old. But we've seen like Odo Omne, like he's not playing at the moment. In fact, popping off on the broadcast. Much love to him. But like, he kind of somewhat put paid to the, oh, 25, you're too old. Like, he was still clapping people at 27, 28, 29.
Yeah. You also have Alfari, the only UK player. Came in, did his stuff, stayed for a pretty long time, went to North America, and now it's just, hey, I made my money, I've had my enjoyment, now it's time to just move on.
That's the thing, that's like the forever ephemeral nature of esports, right? Like, it's there as long as you work hard enough and maintain that level, but it can disappear just like that.
Yeah, then the question really comes down to, we know that Los Ratones wants to get into the LEC. They are clearly good enough to be in the top 4 of EMEA Masters teams, at least in my head. What other players, except for the ones on Los Ratones, do you think can actually go up towards the LEC in the next couple splits?
I mean,
there's this really cool rookie for Ruddy Sack in the jungle called Yankos. I think he's LEC ready, you know?
Oh, you know what? I'm not sure. Is Yanko's LEC ready?
Yes. I mean, let's not forget that this roster of players is awash with ex-LEC. Like, just have to look down. Hey, look, EC Japon. Certus in the mid lane. Dayor, Bean, Limit on Big. We've got so many former Douglas, Kaiser playing for Los Heretics. Chocolate for Barca.
That, actually, Los Heretics as a team, I'm not sure how I feel about them, because Kaiser's somebody who had a really high highs when he was in the LEC and then kind of slumped off and went down to Los Heretics. Douglas was
obviously the Mad Lions days were really his peak.
Yeah, Douglas was never really known as a really that good of a jungler when he joined LEC.
I don't know if he was given that good of a chance though, because he was on an already struggling Vitality roster.
Well, I feel like Douglas did really well for the situation he was in, and then he was snubbed for. I understand Linces is an excellent player, but felt a bit unsatisfying to just drop him like that.
And I think that's the importance and the storylines make EMEA Masters so amazing, because you have ex-LEC players coming down trying to make their way back up, and then you also have these brand new players trying to compete with ex-LEC, do better than them, try to win it all, and then go to the LEC. And the problem is, even if they win EMEA Masters, you only get one shot. And after you break that shot and you don't make a name in the LEC straight away, like Douglas, even though he had a decent split, it wasn't the world's best, they will just kind of forget about you.
Thankfully, that's something that is actually dying off. I think over time, that was very much the case of, oh, you had your one shot, bye. I think that the ecosystem, because fresh talent is drying up a little bit, like KC as an organization have for a long time still been a big developer of players, and I hope they continue to be. But outside of that, you're having to look towards the other teams and the ecosystem that is there for EMEA Masters, which is more and more ex-LEC players. But that means that, you're not one and done anymore. If you can show up and show off in your regional league and at EMEA Masters, then you might just get called up.
Yeah, and you mentioned about a team like Karmine Corp, their second roster, Karmine Corp Blue. They actually made a massive change recently. Didn't they change their junglers?
Yeah. So we'll talk about ISMA first, because ISMA is coming in just for EMEA Masters, replacing Bukada. And then he's getting picked up and going to Giant X for spring in the LEC.
Like,
it's a weird scenario. Run. It's so odd.
It's you know somebody's amazing on the enemy team. You quickly give them a 20, say, hey man, play on my team for a little bit. You could go back to them at the end of the split. It's a loan that you don't really see anywhere in League of Legends or in any esports to that fact. When you're part of a team, you are part of the team. The only time you'll swap someone out is if they either don't have a team at all or they're on your second roster. But to loan someone like this, I think it's going to be good for Giant X, because it gives ISMA the opportunity to go against pretty fierce opponents over in towards EMEA Masters, and then afterwards straight into LEC.
It's a good warm-up for ISMA, as long as KC Blue...
EMEA Masters. Good warm-up.
I mean, for LEC, especially if they want to be properly competitive this split, like Giant X started out winter very, very strong, but then fell off quite quickly, unfortunately. I think if they can maintain a good cadence and a good momentum, because Jackie's had a really great start to the split, and like Giant X as a whole looked really, really solid at first. They just weren't able to keep it up.
The question that needs to be asked then is, of course, they're bringing in a brand new jungler with no preparation time. The max they're going to have is a week maybe, and then they're expected to win EMEA Masters as Karmine Corp Blue usually do. I think this actually hurts their chances of winning it. I think EMEA Masters beforehand, Karmine Corp are clearly top 3 contenders, top 2 contenders, but now they've changed their jungler, probably with an upgrade. Without that time and experience, I actually think that Karmine Corp Blue have an opportunity to maybe crash out and do a lot worse than what people expect.
It's entirely possible. And like looking at the roster, the fact that people's confidence in them is still so high speaks to how good this org is at their talent development. Because at the start of the year, the thought was, oh, Callista's leaving the ERL ecosystem, going up to KC's main roster in LEC. How is KC Blue going to look? And I want to point out that both Karmine Corp Blue and EC Japon did not have good early splits. They actually started out pretty weak in the group stages. KC Blue went 1 and 3. EC Japon went 2 and 2. And then they sort of glowed up for the Swiss stage and then playoffs, where they respectively came in first and second and are representing the LFL.
Yeah, they did get a pretty solid AD carry in from SK Gaming called 3XA for Karmine Corp Blue. He isn't Calist level of hype, but he's already been to the LEC. He's already had that experience. And you can start to understand that it gives an opportunity.
Wait, who's there? Maybe Harry?
I'm not sure if he went early.
I don't know if 3XA. Let's have a look.
No, he wasn't LEC tier.
Do you know why? Because SK Gaming, their second team and first team, sometimes they like. On the thing I look at, I was saying it and I was like, I don't think this is right. Yeah, I don't think. Fair enough, but still, they got pretty solid talent on their roster. There is an opportunity for them to do well, but I don't think I'm putting them at number 1 anymore for at least my tier list going into EMEA.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting question. One thing I do think that will work in KC Blue's favor is that they have very deep champion pools. Like, looking through some of their drafts for Fearless, we saw a Neela, we saw a Vlad come out. Those are the sort of little bits of spice that mean that this team is a little bit more unpredictable when it gets later into a Fearless series, and they could do something that could potentially really surprise.
With coaching stuff like that behind the scenes and with how many times they've won, they have that winning mentality built into them. And even though you don't see massive crowds, Karmine Corp have the biggest in EMEA. If you want to see that support, you are going to see it for Karmine Corp Blue. And that extra bit of pressure, but most importantly, that extra bit of support, I think is going to make them play a little bit better than what they would without that support from the KC fans.
Essentially. What's your read, Harold? Well, just LFL strength as a general.
I mean, I feel like you were kind of stuck in a bit of a weird limbo right now with most ERLs. I feel like the splits were so short, we didn't really gauge the actual power level of most teams. But you go and then you look at like the major regions and you're like, yeah, KC Blue always are gonna show up, always gonna be consistent. The big thing for me is the really EMEA Masters happens really quickly, really quickly. You're gonna play a lot of games really fast. And
starts on the 17th of March, ends on the 23rd. Go.
Yeah,
it is all in 1 week.
Yeah, it kind of ends up being. It ends up being a bit of a, a bit of a marathon, and I feel like we can have our, favorites, our predictions, but I think any team that goes into EMEA Masters basically kind of just has to look at the preparation for it. Like, yeah, you can be the favorite, and then you don't have the mental preparation to play 15 games in 2 days, and you just crumble after day 2 of group stage.
Yeah, there's a
or
lot
Swiss
of
stage
that happen. It'll be Swiss stage. Talking about LFL a little bit more before we get on to another major. The second team coming for them is IC Japon Corp. I absolutely butchered that name, I do apologize. But the players they have on their roster are actually pretty solid. Got Howling in top, Theocus in the jungle, Sertius in mid. A lot of people probably know him. Han Sarmed, not Han Sama, who AD carry. And then Prime is their support. And this team hasn't been able to compete with Karmine Corp as most likely you expect, but being LFL second seed, they are a lot stronger than many other regions, and I think the team might be able to get top 8 if they play pretty well.
The question is, like, how much can the rest of the team step up? I don't have any worries about Sertus, and I think Theocax has shown in the past solid performances. It's on the rest of the roster to really come together as a cohesive unit, because EMEA Masters is a sort of level where you're getting to the point where individuals can't just 1v9 games.
Mid lane is going to be a lot better to 1v9 than, let's say, a support or a top laner. I think Sertius, think about the caliber he's been able to play. Played with Shulker, Misfits, SK Gaming, Lost Heretics. A few of them were the second teams for sure. He still has been in the LEC. Maybe not the best splits you could wish for. It's still pretty solid splits. And if there's any chance of this team winning, it has to come from their mid laner Sertius. He has an opportunity playing stuff like the Zed and LeBlanc. Not really the meta for it now, but for them to even get here now as the second seed, they clearly have something about them, especially in LFL.
I'd find it hilarious if Certus were able to pull out the Zed. It did receive a buff on the most recent patch.
I've seen it play jungle as well. Maybe if you have the flexibility. Hell,
I've played at jungle because I was like, there is a slight buff to Zed damage. Let's go in the jungle because that's prime hipster over here. Just like
talking about Prime, we can transition over towards the Prime League.
Nice. We're loving that segue.
How do we feel about big guys?
Big, strong. Top 4. Or, like, I don't see a world where this team doesn't make top 4. There's so much tenure here. I already mentioned Dior being limit. They've all been on major teams. And, like, looking at the numbers, Shelfmade and Leb have had pretty nutty performances. Like, I don't know Leb's game as well as I do some of these other players. But looking at his picks, he's been very versatile. He's pulled out the Zyras, he's pulled out the Lilias, he's pulled out the Viegos. He's been able to be more of a carry jungler, like with those picks, or he can just play the normal facilitators, and that's something that is very nice to have.
And it's really nice as well because he's 25 years old, born in 1999, been on teams like Barca Esports, Ramboos, also Team Phantasma, teams that have been here, of course in the EMEA Masters. Some of them are still here. But the most interesting player, and we talked earlier about players who we think can maybe make a step up. I think Shelfmade is somebody to really take a look at. He was born in 2006, only 18 years old, and made it over to EMEA Masters on a very strong big team. I think with having a more volatile top laner being the age of 18, but having the consistency of Limit being in the Jour, and even Lev in the jungle, I think this team, for me, is top 2.
Yeah, I mean, I've followed Shelfmade for a while now. I think the first time I heard about him was when he was on Exceed in the Ultra Liga 2 years ago. And he was just a rookie. And I was somebody that I very much like respect, and he was working with Exceed staff at the time, they were singing his praises already and saying this guy's going to get to the LEC someday. And now, 2 years later, after a stint in the Prime League with... what was it? Not big. Last year.
Last year.
I forgot.
Unicorn of Love.
Yeah, he was on UL last year. Did really well. Going over to big. I feel like this guy is probably the next LEC tier top talent. Top lane. Top talent. Just top lane talent.
Yeah. Being half Italian, half German, he's perfect for big. Of course,
No, he's just German. His name is Italian. He has a full Italian name. He doesn't speak a speck of Italian.
Wow. See, this is why we have you here, to be the fact. Absolutely perfect. But
knowing all of that knowledge.
Brackish, how do we feel about big?
I pretty much mirror 95% of what you say, but reword it to sound more like me. Yeah, I think big are one of the favorites coming in. I think anything less than a top 4 performance would be a great disappointment for them and the Prime League as a whole. Speaking of the Prime League, there is also EINFACH. Yeah, EINFACH. Or I'm not sure if it's an F or a V more sound, but
EINFACH.
Yeah.
One of them.
They have some interesting players as well. Afroboy is a name that has floated around for quite some time. Fully German roster as well, which is pretty neat. It's nice to see organizations fully repping their teams. I'm not going to call out the LFL for most of their teams having 2 Koreans on them.
I mean, when you talk about that, Karmine Corp Blue, they have 1 Ukrainian, 1 Korean, and then they have a Greek coach.
Well, they've got Slowq and Piero, who are both Koreans.
Slowq is a bit of a weird one. He's technically Korean, but he's also Swedish. So
yeah, so like it's a weird angle. But if you ever say that you're Korean, you just get a power buff in league. Everybody knows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but, I don't know how to really. I don't know how to rate EINFACH. Like
I'm completely with you.
I mean, they beat out the streamer team.
They did 3-0 Agarin's Dung Dynasty, which, like, I'll give them some points for that. But I think I expect to see them in the knockout stage. I think unless they get drawn into a really rough group, they should be expected to get out of group stage. But I don't know how far they'll go beyond that.
Definitely a hard one to do with the second teams, because we all know Karmine Corp, we all know Big, Los Heretics, Papara Supermassive. It's when you start getting towards the second teams that we need to know the power rankings. And with the seasons being so short, how are you meant to tell how a second team compares against another second team when we haven't seen any sort of gameplay against each other? So this first EMEA is going to be a big opportunity.
That's what makes it exciting.
Exactly. It's like the World Cup. I keep saying it. This is the World Cup of League of Legends.
Well, surely it's like the Euros.
Sure, it's the Euros. Okay, fair enough. It is the Euros. It's the
Champions
Euros
League or something.
That's what. I mean, that's effectively what. Well, that's basically what the NLC is turning into for the Nordics.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. But talking about different regions, how do we feel about, of course, the Spanish region with Los Heretics?
Again,
Los Heretics are always going to be solid. They've got a strong organization supporting them. Same with KC Blue. They're always going to have well-rounded out rosters that they're going to bring new talent in with. We saw it last year with Carlson. Yeah, honestly, probably one of the favorites to take it all.
Yeah, I've got them down solid top 4. I think the mindset for them should be pretty much the same as Big.
Try and win it all for sure. I think Pizer and Douglas are going to be the powerhouse of this team if they're able to combo well together, use their LEC knowledge. I think Los Heretics have a very big chance of trying to win, especially with the combination of players like Rin and Trayson, who are pretty solid talents as well. They have a big opportunity to win here, but I'm going to be curious about how the Spanish league is able to compare against the rest of these top teams.
Definitely.
But,
I mean,
second team.
Those are kind of the the big ones. And I mean, for a second team, it's a big name, Barca Esports.
You have Shekalad, Legolas, and
White Knight.
White Knight on it.
Remember, White Knight has technically played at the top flight.
Wasn't terrible when he was in Astralis in 2021.
He played for Astralis, yeah.
Still one of the only players in LEC history to have a pentakill as a top laner.
Yep.
That's actually really cool. But this was the second team I was looking at from a major region where I was really excited about, because I actually think they had a big opportunity to beat Los Heretics if they played it correctly in the normal league.
It's one of those ones that, yeah, if a few things had gone that little bit different, let's see how things would have been written. They're coming in as second seed, which means that they are a pool 4 team, which means that they are going to be drawn, obviously, each group is drawn from one team from each pool, which means they can't play as Los Heretics, that's the rule book, but they've got to go against Karmine Corp, Big, or Supermassive in their group.
What would you even want to go against?
I mean, based on the discussion, we haven't talked about Papara Supermassive yet. I think, for the most part, people would go for that, but you can never really count out the TCL. They always send some, like, real curveball rosters, and I mean, we'll get to them in just a second. We can go to them next, perhaps.
I definitely think we should go to them next. Papara Supermassive was a Turkish team. They have a Turkish top laner, Armut.
Hey, you might have heard of him.
Yeah, Armut. May of
better known as Narmut.
Yep.
One of the most hyped top laners to come into the LEC of recent times. Had a pretty solid stint, I would say, but started whimpering out at the end of his career. Went back down here towards Papara Supermassive, and I think their team's really solid. You've got Armut, Skeens, very strong top lane and jungler, Fiesta, Bao, and Carry. I think they're probably the weakest out of all 4 of the top flight teams, but I still think they clearly deserve to be in the top 4.
Yeah, of the pool 1 teams, I think they're like a step down from the others, but I still expect them to do a pretty deep run. Like, again, playoffs should be pretty much an expectation for them unless they get very unlucky with their draw. Like, let's say, for example, they get drawn alongside, like, EC Japon, which is a Pool 4 team, like Los Ratones and
so,
Geekay.
Should it sound interesting? TCL, even though they're in a Pool 1 team with, of course, the SL, the Prime League, and the LFL, they're the only ones to not actually get a second seed in towards this tournament.
Yep. Well, of the Pool 1 teams, yes.
Yeah, Pool 1. But coming towards the Pool 2 teams, Italy, region which I don't really have too much knowledge of.
Hey, I wonder if there's somebody here who might be able to talk about the LIT, about the LIT.
I wonder if somebody truly can talk about the Italian region and the
Harold,
League of Legends Italian
would you
tournament.
like to talk about Macko Esports?
I wonder who would like to talk about the team that they have represented, well, on the sidelines for the better part of a year. But yeah, bit of a odd season this one for LIT. I feel like the entire the entire esports movement is a bit on the downturn, I would say, but Macko still showing up, still making building a roster
in the regular
that wants
split
to go towards the EMEA Masters. 12-0 in the regular split, basically undefeated in playoffs.
No, completely undefeated. They have not lost a game in this split,
which is fair, more than not fair. The second best roster, which was Gamblers, was players that deserved a chance at the first division. Deserved a chance, and yeah, deserved a chance. The big thing for me for this Macko roster is a lot of the big names that were there last year have gone. Click has gone out to the Superliga. Vigil has decided to step down and go play in the EBL. For the remaining names, like there's Collar. Collar has been excellent in the last 2 years for Macko. Stable. He's kind of scaled into the role of captain for this team. Been really consistent, putting out good performances, good numbers every single time, every single outing. I do think we don't really know where their power level is, with a bunch of rookies coming in. There's Flicker and Mafro. But it stands to be seen. They kind of have this EMEA Masters flair. They made semis 2 years ago. They made quarters last year and semis in spring. We'll see how it goes.
Where's your realistic take on where they roughly sit?
Quarterfinals.
Yeah. Not bad.
I do think they're gonna make it out of groups because they've always been a solid team to play in Swiss. They've always had their strengths. They've always punched above their weight, even when they had better rosters. I don't think it's gonna go beyond quarters, though.
Are they your dark horse?
No.
No?
I am sorry. As much as I love them, the quality of the league has not really shown me anything this year, and I'm not really...
Yeah, the fact that the LIT is a 6-team region at the moment is hard to read much from it.
Exactly. Considering there's one good team and then other 5 going for the 5 most inexpensive players they can find.
Definitely. Macko Esports, for Harold's sake, please do something for this tournament. This keeps you invested. And
I think they're potentially well positioned to. I think they should probably, as you said, make it to the knockout stage. You've just got to be in the top half of teams in order to do that. So,
I think this is a really good point, though, to show the strength of the EMEA Masters as a European league for everybody when they're able to win their own leagues. It gives that little bit more excitement. Or for us, we make sure that we support NLC as much as possible. Harold, of course, supporting one of these teams who are very tired, wanted them. And because there's so many different countries in Europe that are able to come here, you always have a certain region going to be supported anyway, just because it's that team's, every country has a team. But going towards the next team, we've got Geekay Esports from the Arabian League. So I don't really know how strong they are.
Yeah, so it's a funny one. We've got not the most information about Geekay and then the Hitpoint Winter winner, Nightbirds. I don't have very much to go on. Like, I recognize a couple of these names. Let's stick with Geekay for now. Like,
they've got Boda, they've got
Boda and ERLevant are names that I am aware of. They've definitely
Boda has been a very consistent player.
Yeah, they've been around
region.
the scene.
Well, the last time the Geekay Esports have been able to get themselves over to EMEA Masters was in 2024. They came 9th to 16th. They didn't get themselves out of the playoffs. They lost the Supermassives in a close 2-3 series. They were solid. Maybe the Arabian League has built up a little bit more, and especially when I was looking at their playoff run, they won Winter without any issues. And on top of that, they didn't drop a single game in the playoff run either.
Yeah, one game in the regular series, but a clean playoffs. Yeah, alongside Nightbirds, who I sort of jump to next, they're kind of question marks for me.
Hitpoint is a bit of a
yeah
dark region, I would say.
Yeah. So, I mean, Nightbirds, we've got Bobista, we've got Addy1. Addy1's the name I definitely know. But beyond that, hard to say what we're dealing with. And I'm blessed to know a little bit more about the last Pool 2 team, which is Team Phantasma coming out of the Hellenic League, or the Hellenic Legends League. And of course, we also have a correspondent, a good friend, who is very well integrated with that league, Rev, the real
Revian.
Indeed. Obviously is very, very well versed with this team. But I've also been lucky enough to cover this team. As of you, Harold, we did the European Pro Series.
Yes, we covered their game against, what was it?
Was it the Church of Majorati?
Portuguese team. No, it was a Portuguese team. It wasn't the Pablo team.
Might have been FlameHard then.
Yeah, it might have been Phantasma FlameHard.
Well, we'll get to FlameHard later because they actually came out from the LPLOL. But Phantasma, they put on a good showing. They are looking pretty damn solid. I was very impressed with Manati in the jungle especially. And they've got a good team around him as well. In Rev's opinion, he literally just put down gatekeepers. Like, solid if they can get early leads, but he's not confident how they'll do against larger region teams.
I think they might actually be, from all the teams I'm seeing from Pool 2, one of the strongest. I actually might put them as the strongest. I think the Greek and Cypriot League combined, they have consistently been able to do something at EMEA Masters. Sure, they're not going to be winning it against Supermassive or against Karmine Corp Blue, but I really think that Team Phantasma could do something here. See, it's hard to say. If I had to pick teams to not go against from Pool 2, it'd be them.
Yeah, so Phantasma, I think, strikes me as the first sort of team I would call sort of dark horse. I don't think you can even call Los Ratones a dark horse.
They're not a dark horse.
Yeah,
they're very much in center stage.
Yeah, the team has come in, not even out of nowhere, but considering they've got Cadrel, the guy who, when he co-streams professional events, gets more viewership than the actual events. And then you throw in Baus, an incredibly popular streamer, Reckless, my goat, Nemesis, and I also, one thing I do super respect, I've been a huge fan of, is what we saw with Velia. Like, they didn't just pick 5 known quantities. They did actually bring in Baus, who was a known player, but not a pro player. And they've crafted, I mean, he's, through his own hard work and I think some insistence from Cadrel, has become a pro player now. Like, he got Rookie of the Split, he very much deserved it. His playstyle, he sticks to it when it is appropriate. And
sometimes when it's not.
And a lot of teams don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And, 5 members down, but yeah, specifically the fact that they brought Velia in, who has obviously had some competitive experience, but this really brought him to the limelight. And with all of the experience that the rest of the roster has helped bring him sort of to the forefront, but really let him shine. as a player.
Can we talk about how criminal it is that Los Ratones is in Pool 3?
I mean, that's just how it is. Because of this, that's what we're talking about, sort of the state of NLC last year versus NLC this year. Like, with the arrival of Los Ratones, we have seen a leveling up of the region. Nord, they have a fantastic roster in their own right. They got treats.
Bit of a retirement home, but you know.
They've got a very solid roster in their own right. They do. The Ruddy Sack had a lot of names. Now, that team, this split at least, didn't live up to the hype. But
yeah,
I do think, like, Ruddy is always going to be a presence in this region, thanks to the hard work of Don Jake. Like, he has made this team into what it is. And so I have confidence that they'll...
Happy birthday, Don Jake, by the way.
Wait, is this his birthday today?
Yes.
Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jake!
There we go.
Oh. Let's go.
I'm really excited to see what NLC is going to become in a couple of years. If they're able to keep Los Ratones here for a year, I think the NLC will grow a lot from it. My big concern is after Los Ratones leave, the NLC is going to have a massive plummet of teams if we don't start caring about things outside of Los Ratones for the NLC.
That's sort of what, in fact, Don Jake stated when the sort of hype started building up around the region, is that if teams want to be relevant and sustainable, they need to start doing more than just putting together a roster and showing up to game days. Like, content has become a huge part of the NLC ecosystem with all of the scrims that Nord and the Ruddy Sack and LR have been putting out. Like, if you want to be noticed, if you want to succeed, you need to do more than just the bare minimum. And I think some of the teams have yet to get that message.
I think it'll come with time with them, but Los Ratones is absolutely illegal to be here. They need to be in Pool 2 minimum. Pool 1 would have been fun. If there could be 5 teams in Pool 1, I would have put them up there just for the enjoyment of it, but I think it's going to be even better that they're not Pool 1 because they're going to have to minimum go against either Karmine Corp Blue, Big, Los Heretics, or Papara Supermassive. Any of those games are going to be absolute bangers.
Bean versus Reckless, that would be a fun one.
That'd be an incredible one. Have Limit down towards the bot lane as well.
I
just feel like the boss against anyone would be fun.
I mean, Baus is just a fun player in general. So yeah, it is good to watch.
There's one thing I do not like about Baus is the fact that he plays his weird playstyle on stage and then people see him and then I have to suffer through it in solo queue.
In solo queue. Yeah, because people don't understand even people still don't understand the Baus playstyle. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna run it down, go 07, and not actually get the CS lead and the gold advantage and the pressure advantage that his whole playstyle actually represents.
Now, can teams deal with it? I think. Can they? I'm trying to think. I'm thinking a team like Karmine Corp Blue, if they went against Los Heretics, against the boss, could they compete against it? I think a team like that has a higher likelihood of doing so. I don't know how good this team is outside of NLC.
I think teams had a chance when lane swaps were a thing to try and make more containment with more better oiled machines coming in from the better leagues. But now that you have to stay in lane for at least the first 4 minutes...
First 4? Just lane swap afterwards.
Yeah, but it's not as good. People were lane swapping anyway after that point to get grubs, so it doesn't really matter.
So, let's not lock in onto LR too much. We know that they're a strong team. We know they're going to be very entertaining to watch. As NLC residents, Zath, you and I, we're very excited to see them. I mean,
we're going to the moon, baby. First place.
I expect them to make it out of groups. We'll see how some of these bigger name teams can deal with them. That's what I am looking forward to more than anything else.
Going to be super exciting because we have quite a few other teams over in towards Pool 3. Remember, there's 4 different players in each one. Got Zero Tenacity, FlameHard, and Zvezda. I'm so sorry again. Zero Tenacity, a team that is from Rift Legends, a team consisting of almost all Polish people except for Zubak in the jungle, but they have a interesting bot lane as well. They got
Woolite and Jack Troll. Those are some names.
That is one hell of a throwback.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh man.
When was the last time Woolite played professionally?
2018 in the ULCS. 2019 with Rogue in the ULCS.
How long is this guy's like discography?
I don't know. He won Rookie of the Split in 2015. Right?
So his first team was, God knows how you pronounce this, Kaidis Mialem, September 2012.
Yep.
Over a decade-long career.
28 and 26, that bot lane. I don't think any LEC team will be picking them up. But
and then there's this guy called Shelfmate who's 18.
Yeah. Harold, you know what? Curious question. Would you class this team as a dark horse?
Z10?
Yeah.
I think they have the experience to try and make a deep run. They certainly have had their fair share of grinding and playing tough games and being in tough situations. Jack Troll, longtime member of the Vitality organization, has gone through the gauntlet more than once. I think they have the elements for it. It's just gonna be a question of whether they can translate and they can get good practice before the main stage starts.
Practice is also a big thing. A team like Supermassive may not actually want to go against them compared to Los Ratones or an LEC team, because that's one thing. A lot of the LEC teams actually fight against some of the best EMEA Masters teams for practice.
Yep.
But going forward,
we talked about FlameHard a little bit a moment ago.
Yeah.
Harold and I covered them in the European Pro Series. Trying to remember how exactly they did in that tournament. I think it was, they got in the top 8, but they lost to WL Gaming, which, of course, sizable roster coming out from, funnily enough, the Hellenic League. Not really a mark against them to lose. But I do like this roster a lot. Metro Archer is a name that you and I should know fairly well, Zath. He's played in several NLC2 rosters back in the day.
Yeah, been around the scene a lot. It's hard to say. For me personally, this is a team I'm not that excited about. I think they can... I don't even think they're getting outplayed, so I was going to try and be polite and nice. I really hope that they do, better than what I'm expecting, but for me, one of the weakest rosters coming in.
And last up, we've got the EBL with a name that I'm going to struggle to pronounce. It's like Crvena Zvezda Esports.
I had to...
Red Star is what
Red Star Belgrade.
Yes.
Red Star Belgrade Esports, which is
a
historic football organization.
Yep.
And
the thing is, the roster they've locked in, it seems, for EMEA Masters is lacking a player that has been on their front page, and that's one Selfmade.
Yeah.
The Selfmade man.
Not Shelfmade.
Selfmade.
Well, I'm more hyped about Shelfmade anyway.
I mean, so unfortunately, Selfmade, I think, was slated to start for this team, but by the looks of it, missed out on most of the split and has been replaced by Blue Ball, who, by the looks of things, they have had a solid run in the EBL, but of course, stepping up to EMEA level is a whole different ballgame. So I'm looking forward to watching this team, but I don't have the highest of expectations for them.
No, you shouldn't. This team has never got any higher than 31st and 32nd not qualified. The highest they ever got was 14th to 16th place. They are a team expected to be more cannon fodder for the higher regions. The thing is, they have a completely different roster than what they've ever had before this season compared to any other EMEA. So we always need to give them the benefit of the doubt. But honestly, I think this team is just going to be there and they're happy to be there.
I mean, at the end of the day, these teams EMEA experience is still just really good learning. Like, you're going to play against a Pool 1 team. Like, the Pool 1 teams all look pretty darn solid. If you get a series against one of those teams, a best of 3, then you can start scribbling down all of the pain points. Like, how did they pressure us? How did they get leads on us? Even if you lose every single game at EMEA Masters, you can go back to your region. And if you've done your learning properly, you can level up your region in a real way. But if you do that prep correctly, if you go in and just like, okay, we're going to play, we're probably going to lose, oh well, then nothing is gained. And that's something that I've seen happen in the past, and it annoys the hell out of me every time.
Yeah, I think the only other team we didn't talk about was ZennIT.
Yeah.
Road of Legends. Interestingly, I was able to commentate for MCOM, the team that usually comes out of this region. The new team coming out: Whip, Shibby, Marty, a freebie,
A freebie.
D3R. I don't even. How do you say the sports name?
Fantastic question. Yeah, you know a freebie pretty well because he played for MCon. I assume it's just Jerky.
Jerky, yeah. Jerky sounds about right. I think this team, if I know how well MCon did, this team is very lucky if they get out of playoffs. They're usually like on this cusp of getting out, but they lose by 1 game. That's usually the way that the Benelux, Dutch sort of region of Belgium goes for.
Yeah. I mean, I will shout out a freebie because he played in the 4 Nations for Venom Crest in 2024. But, yeah, it'd be great to see him on the EMEA stage. But as you said, with quite a few of these lower pool teams, we do have to temper our expectations somewhat. Only 8 of the teams will make it out of that group stage and qualify. So, do we want to try and lock those 8 teams, or? I mean, let's you know what? Let's see if we can lock. Let's see if we can lock a top 4. Let's just lock a top 4. I think let's leave some
Corp,
space.
Los Heretics, Papara Supermassive.
KC.
Just hold up. You're just going for the 4 Pool 1 teams.
Okay, fine. Karmine, Corp, Big, Los Heretics, Los Ratones.
KC Blue, LR, Macko.
Based. So incredibly based.
KC Blue, LR, Macko, and Big.
Okay, can we? I actually want to hear everybody's top 8, and then I want Dark Horse, like an honest top 8 answer.
Okay, so I realistically, I agree that the 4 Pool 1 teams should be expected to make it out. They all had solid, like very solid performances. Beyond
I think
that,
one of them is gonna blow up.
But which?
Yeah, you'll have to guess until I say it.
Alright, well, since I missed out on the top 4, I'll do my top 8. I think the 4 Pool 1 teams make it. Maybe one team does struggle more than we expect, but I still think they're mostly going to make it out. Then we go Los Ratones, we go Team Phantasma, we go Macko, because otherwise Harold will be sad. And then I reckon I am somewhat bouncing between Japon and Barca for the 8th slot.
Well, you have to pick. No more.
I'm going to say Barca.
Yeah. Harold. I wanna have yours at the end because you said that you want.
You've foreshadowed.
And I don't take it out. So for me, the teams I think are going to be getting through on the EMEA Masters: Karmine Corp, Big, Los Heretics, Papara Supermassive, Team Phantasma, Los Ratones, Barca Esports. It's hard because I want IC Japan Corp or EINFACH. I'll go for the Prime League representative, but that's super hard to call. Most likely, I should take out Team Phantasma and put in the LFL 2nd seed. I think I'll do that. So I'll say all LFL representatives, all Prime League, all SL representative, and then Papara Supermassive, and then I'll say those are the safe bets that I'm going to go for.
Boring.
Go on, Harold.
Look, I just want to win.
So I think it's going to be KC Blue. It's going to be Big. It's going to be Papara Supermassive. It is going to be Macko, as we were saying earlier. It is going to be Los Ratones. It is going to be Barca. Go back. I had one in my brain farted.
So you haven't said Los Heretics yet.
It is Japon Corp. What am I? 7, 8?
Yeah, 7. So you got one
7. More. Japon Corp and Geekay.
But Los Heretics not making it.
Yep.
You think they're going to blow up?
Yes.
Why?
Vibes.
Vibes. Great.
No.
The vibes are down.
I do think it is a ruthless. It is a ruthless game to get out of groups or to get out of Swiss. And I think they're just gonna, like, you know, it happens like every year with like the one LPL team that crashes and burns in the group set world.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a combination of having to go up against real fierce competition and then just having one off day that kind of dooms your run.
But Roddy Sack already did that for NLT.
Yeah,
They
but they're
did
not in
that.
EMEA.
Well,
Exactly. They did it. So
yeah.
they can make it to here.
right.
Yeah, but like, what does it matter?
you
They're
know-
not here anyway.
Boys, okay, we have made our predictions for the 8 that make it. Let's wrap up with a final point. Fearless in EMEA Masters. How much is it going to matter?
Hell yeah, I fucking love
Massive.
Fearless.
Oh my god. The thing is, right, I want to add Team Phantasma. I really want to add them just because of Fearless draft. I don't think you understand how big of gremlins a lot of these teams are. They will sit down and be like, you know what? We're going to pick on first. And we're going to put on towards mid. But then if they pick this, we're going to put on towards bot lane. And if they pick this, fine, we'll put it towards the jungle. If they pick that, we'll put it towards top lane. And that's what Fearless Draft does. It gets these people to be so weird and so wacky that Supermassive, a team that should be top 4, is accidentally going to have a horrendous draft against the bottom feeder team. And they're just going to take a game of them and completely turn the whole entire split.
I think perhaps the running thought is just, heck yeah, Fearless. This post was brought to you by the Fearless Gang. It's not even, it's the coldest of takes this year. I think it has been so widely loved that it is going to be missed if it does go away. Keep Fearless, Riot.
What about
Keep it going.
Do you want it for Worlds?
Yes.
Yeah.
No
Run it at
doubt
it.
in
Doesn't
my
seem like
mind.
you want it.
No doubt in my mind. Everything.
I mean, it means that the best team actually can't just play the same 10 champions and win.
I think the best team means you have the best read-on drafts and your best ability to play many champions.
Damn, I need coma.
Right. With that extremely lucrative lukewarm tape, we're going to wrap up our primer for EMEA Masters. Thank you very much again, guys, for sticking with it. We totally didn't record another episode of the Run It Down just before this one. So that is going to do it for us.
Kicking back yawns the entire time. I've been dying.
Yeah, I saw it. Go get yourself some rest, Harold.
Man. I also have to go out for dinner with somebody.
Oh no! You should have said. Right. Well, with that, guys,
it's gonna be
we
fun.
are going to throw it to the end. Thank you so much for being along. Keep an eye out. I'm not going to promise a super consistent release schedule for these. We want to do one
Excuse me, Brack,
every few weeks.
Yes, you will have an episode every few weeks. I promise you that.
Every sometime.
Zath's the guy to make. Like, Zath's here to be the guy that keeps me in line. So
Yeah.
yeah,
There will be an episode.
Have an
every 2
episode
weeks.
every sometime.
every sometime.
That'll be one every
Let's
2
go. All right.
Right.
Thanks so much for being there for the rundown. Hopefully you do not run down your solo queue games, and we will see you next time.